Hello everybody, welcome to the channel. My name is JGOD. In today's video we're going to talk about how to adjust settings to play better in Call of Duty Black Ops 4. I'm sure some of the tips in this video are going to be ones that you're familiar with or you've seen in previous Call of Duties, but I guarantee that there's going to be a couple that you've probably never seen before. Keep in mind that all the settings I'm going to cover today should be usable in multiplayer, Blackout, and in zombies. The first thing we're going to talk about is readjusting your controller button layout. Since the jump mechanic is so effective in this game, you're going to want to make sure you're able to jump around corners while maintaining your aim. So let's go ahead and walk through some of these presets so you kind of have an idea of their strengths and weaknesses. Unless you have a specialty controller, I never recommend leaving it in default. And the main reason for that is because it'll just be a little bit harder to keep your thumb on that right analog stick as you jump, slide, or go prone. The next button layout we'll talk about, which is very popular, is the tactical button layout. And the reason why this one's so popular is because drop shotting used to be a real big thing. Not so much in this game, but this can actually be used for sliding because you make your right analog stick your crouch button, your prone button. So you'll be able to slide, keep that thumb on the right analog stick to be as accurate as possible. Another great option is stick and move, and one of the benefits of stick and move is it makes that right analog stick your jump button. So you'll be able to jump around corners while maintaining that right thumbstick on that analog, again, to be as accurate as possible when you're in the air. The next one we'll talk about is bumper jumper, and this one allows you to jump with one of your triggers, which will allow you to be able to aim down sight, pull that trigger, jump shot, and keep that thumb on that right analog. So this is another great option as well. They also have a hybrid of bumper jumper and tactical, which is called bumper jumper tactical. And this one's probably recommended overall because it allows you to do everything at once. You get the jumping with your triggers, you get the going prone with your right analog stick. So overall, you have some pretty great options. So for my recommendations, I would say stop using default and then switch it to either stick and move or bumper jumper tactical. Keep in mind that there is a transition period. It will suck initially because your muscle memory is going to kick in and you've been playing default for so long that it's going to be a little bit of a struggle. And I promise you, if you commit to one of the button layouts that I've recommended until it is muscle memory, you're going to be significantly better than you were with that default button layout. Also, if you're looking for an edge on how fast you can pull that trigger, you might want to consider changing your actual triggers to flip, and that'll allow you to shoot and aim down sight with L1 and R1. Although that difference is significantly more noticeable with semi-automatic weapons, you should notice some kind of improvement across the board. Let's go ahead and get into the next setting, which is very important for a lot of players, and that is sensitivity. Keep in mind that everyone has a unique sensitivity that works great and feels great for them, and it's up to you as a player to identify what that sensitivity is. And if finding your perfect sensitivity is something you struggle with, I will be leaving a link to my tips for better accuracy video down in the description, which include how to find that perfect sensitivity. The next thing we'll talk about is target assist and aim assist. And keep in mind that these two things are completely different. Target assist works in multiplayer and Blackout. That allows you to get that little bit of a slowdown when you take your crosshairs over the enemy. And aim assist is that thing you experience in zombies. Every time you ADS, it auto locks onto the zombie's head for the most part. Either way, you're going to want to make sure you have both of these settings turned on at all times. I've heard of people doing all these kinds of funny accuracy drills with no aim assist and then turning it on and feeling like you got godlike accuracy. At the end of the day, I don't think that stuff works. You're more than welcome to try it. And the last thing when it comes to controller settings is to turn that vibration off. Trust me, you don't need it. It doesn't help. It's just a distraction more than anything. The next tip we'll talk about goes against pretty much what the game is telling you to do, but I encourage you to do it anyways. The tip is in relation to your brightness. A lot of times the game will tell you brighten it up to here or darken it until you can't see this thing. And most games that are graphically stunning and expect you to go through a campaign and see things in a specific way, it is very important to follow those directions. But in a multiplayer Call of Duty first-person shooter like Black Ops 4, you want to be able to see enemies when they lurk in the shadows. So you're going to want to make sure you up this brightness until about 70 or 80%. Somewhere in that range will be perfect for this game because there's a lot of little dark windows or dark areas in this game. It makes it a little bit harder to see your opponent. By boosting the brightness, you might lose a little bit of that color saturation, but you will be able to find opponents that much easier. So the next tip we'll talk about is your audio preset, and this is very important because I know a lot of people are struggling with being able to hear footsteps. So the first thing you're going to want to do with the audio settings is change your audio preset to Super Crunch. The main reason you're going to want to use Super Crunch because it allows you to hear more subtle auditory cues like footsteps, gun reloading, and different stuff like that just all over the map. In addition to changing that audio preset, you're going to want to change the individual audio settings like voice volume, music volume, cinematic volume, and sound effect volume. And you're going to want to put everything to half except for sound effect volume. You're going to bump that up as high as possible and pretty much put voice volume, music volume, and cinematic volume to half at number 5, while sound effects is at 10. And the main reason you're going to want to put your settings this way is because the voice volume, the music volume, and the cinematic volume are there to enrich your gaming experience, but they can be very distracting when you're trying to focus on footsteps, people reloading, gunfire, all these different things. So you're going to want to boost that sound effect volume so you'll be able to hear all the stuff that you really want to hear when you're in a multiplayer match. Another quick ad for your audio settings is to turn that controller sound off. It's just a distraction more than anything. We only have a couple more tips left, and keep in mind that this last one is going to be a game changer for you. But the next one we'll talk about is directly from David Vonderhaar himself. Here's his tweet. It reads, "Don't forget to set your options in menu for Blackout minimap to square and Blackout item pickup to press." And the main reason you're going to want to change that minimap to square is because you're going to have more area to view when you actually look at your minimap, which is a huge advantage. And the second tip when it comes to picking up items, this saved a ton of time when you're running around. If you have it to press, all you got to do is run around, pick up a weapon, pick up ammo, pick up anything. It's just tapping it and you'll be able to pick up that item with ease. Personally, I think that's one of the biggest changes they could have made for the console side, because it was so slow picking up stuff when you had to actually hold the button, wait for that little circle animation to fill up before it actually picked it up, which slowed down your looting phase significantly. And now on to the last tip, which I think is probably one of the most important, and that is shrinking your HUD. I'm going to go ahead and demonstrate how to do this on the PlayStation 4. But if you're on Xbox, just follow that in-game prompt when you're trying to shrink that safe area. It'll give you specific directions for that console. This by far has to be one of the most unknown tips around, but probably one of the most helpful. And pretty much what it's going to do for you in game is going to decrease the distance between your mini map and the center of your screen, which will make it a little bit easier for your eyes to bounce back and forth between mini map and center of screen, because all good players are using the mini map about half the time they're playing. They pretty much look at the minimap, look back at the center of the screen, and continually have their eyes working. The closer these two distances are together, it just makes it that much easier for you to focus on the gameplay while being able to view your minimap. Even if you're playing on a monitor, you will notice the difference, but if you're playing on a TV, you will see a night and day difference. So trust me, shrink this safe area as small as possible, as small as the game will allow, as small as your console will allow, and you will have an improved gaming experience. And that wraps up the video on how to adjust your settings to play better at Call of Duty Black Ops 4. Hopefully you did enjoy the video. If you did, remember to hit that like button. If you're brand new to the channel, I typically cover Call of Duty news, in-game updates, best class setups, subscriber breakdowns, as well as other tip and trick videos like this one today. So if that's typically the content you like to watch, make sure you subscribe and turn those notifications on. We'll see you guys on the next one. Thank you for watching, and as always, have a great day.